I just watched that first video back again and realised that I hadn't made a bag in Blender, a prop. So let's quickly do that now for the next animation. So you need to go into object mode first because we're still in pose mode. And then Shift A, Mesh, Cube. And scale that down because it's ridiculously big on the Dinky. Right, now to get her to hold it, you would left click the bag, shift select the wrist bone. Sorry, we'll do this in pose mode. So left click the bag, shift select the wrist bone, and then it's pose parent bone. Or you can do Control P, Control P, bone. And now we select only the bag and move it into position. Angle it if you want to. Right, so now when you move the wrist, the bag will move with it. Now that bag is not rigged, it's just parented. Don't need to rig a bag. Alright, so now let's move on and add more to this pose to make it into an animation. Right, so we've still got bag hold in the drop-down list, so we want to add a new animation. Now you can either build on this and duplicate this bag hold, or you can click the cross and then click new and start from scratch. For instance, new. But let's undo that. I'm going to duplicate because then I don't have to bother with the initial pose. So click the copy button here, and that gives you baghold.001, but we'll want to rename that. So double click, or sorry, single click, and then we'll call it wave bag around. And we'll click the shield to store it. So when you click this drop down arrow, you've got all the animations you've made in the saved file, and you can recall any one of them. Alright, so to make it into a moving animation, you advance along the timeline. So you can either do that here, but your increments might be a bit large, or you can do it down here in the graph editor. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to advance by 20 each time. You can vary the timing, it doesn't have to be 20. But I know where I am if I'm doing 20. So we can swing it forward a bit. And then right. Now you can go either, well, there's three things you can do. You can do eye rotation, undo that. Preferable is eye available, because we've already keyframed the first frame. Or up here is a smart keying tool that Guy made, and it will only keyframe the bones that have changed, and you don't need to select them. So I'm going to deselect it and then press smart keying, and you'll see that it adds the frames for the bones that moved. Now if I was to go to 40, which is the next frame I'm going to keyframe, and then move that like that, this bone has moved, but it hasn't moved since frame 0. So we'll see how it looks. If it looks weird, then you have to go back to 20 and add in a keyframe. So I'm going to press the smart keying again. We'll see how it looks. See it's jiggling like that. That's because I haven't set the end of the timeline, but it's still only at 1. So I'm going to set that to, for now, 100. I'll extend it in a minute. It's okay. Now frame 60. So mostly just pressing G, holding the wrist and pressing G and pulling the mouse. But if you're used to the gizmo, I'll show you that in a minute. Right, so the gizmo is in this little arrow here. You've got move and you've got rotate. So if we turned on rotate, it will move one bone at a time. But the advantage of pulling the wrist, if you wanted to do it this way, is that it moves more than one bone at once. Or you can use a combination of both. Now I don't like to see the gizmo because it gets in the way of what I'm looking at, so for now I'll turn it off. So just have the select arrow enabled. M80. I think I'll just do one more. It needs to be long enough so it doesn't look as though it's in a pattern. So right, so let's pull it down and back. Smart key. It's keyframed all the bones, even though they're not selected. And now we copy frame 0 to frame 100 to make the loop. So left click the top diamond or top circle, and then that selects the whole column, and then shift D and drag it to frame 100. Now it will play the same frame twice, 0 and 100, so we need to reduce the length by 1. So we'll do that here. So it's now 99 long. And let's play it. Yeah, it's a bit repetitive. It should be longer so that that's not noticed. With more different keyframes. But for now, that's enough for this video. So I'm going to save the file and export. Scroll down to animation export, anim, start. Now I've got synchronize ticked here, and that synchronizes the end of the timeline to the end of the animation. Ease in and ease out. That's the time it takes to start playing. So it's just under a second. So if you were transitioning from another animation to that one, that gives a nice smooth ease in. Right, priority 5 as before, compression 0, because it's not a very long animation, so it doesn't need compressing. If it was over 250 kilobytes in the end, then it does need compressing, or over 60 seconds. So loop animation in 0, out, we'll change that to 99. Enter, apply armature scale, export wave background. And here we have the animation playing in Second Life. She's waving her bag around nicely, and the other animations are still taking place, as we only animated the right arm. So that's it for now. Let me know anything else you'd like to see. Bye for now.